Quick disclaimer, I don't want anybody harassed, located, or otherwise bothered that's mentioned in this video at all. That includes the staff and developers mentioned here, alongside the players. Please don't bother anybody. This is just a video of my opinion on the NVMP models. Thank you. Enjoy the video.
For the past 3 weeks, I've been playing Fallout multiplayer, and I don't mean 76. Not that I'm ragging on 76, mind you. It's a passable game, but every criticism that's been made about it in the past is still valid. The launch was horrible, and the gameplay's still kind of mid. But if you want to hear somebody talk about that, here's a couple good videos on that. But what about a good Fallout that everyone wanted to be multiplayer that sadly wasn't vanilla? Fallout New Vegas. You know, running around shooting people with the anti-material rifle, killing Benny with your friends. Well, I mean, they made a mod for it, and I've been playing it, so let me tell you about it.
Yippee-yay, there'll be no wedding bells for today. Today.
Now, I played Fallout New Vegas multiplayer a lot for roughly 3 weeks. I reached level 50, I joined a faction, and I made a metric crap ton of caps, all while racking up a small body count, including players and a lot of NPCs. Now, despite the premise of this video being Fallout New Vegas multiplayer, I don't actually have much gameplay of me playing the mod, because I'm not going back to play it to record it, and I'll get into that later on in the video. And that's not to say, like, I couldn't record it because it was unstable. To the contrary, it's actually ridiculously stable. I only crashed about 8 times in the 3 weeks that I played. Now, to properly explain the upsides and downsides of NVMP, I need to go over some of the basics of the mod. And the Ring-a-Ding-Ding server, or RAD for short, is the main server that I personally played on and that the majority of people played on until the Dust server opened. Now, the reason why I mention Ring-a-Ding-Ding is to explain what sparks are and how caps are treated, alongside the other gameplay changes, including perks and houses.
Sparks are the premium currency of the Mojave in the Ring-a-Ding-Ding server, and these cannot be purchased with real money and can only be earned in-game from doing jobs like rebellion, chem selling, or moonshining. Alongside these, there is a cap of 150 sparks a day that you can earn from PvP, meaning anyone can earn a small amount of sparks from an easy enough amount of work. And this also unironically makes sparks one of the only premium currencies that I can get behind in any game. Onto caps. These are basically worthless on Ring-a-Ding-Ding, aside from the NPC vendors that sell stuff normally in the game, from ammo to guns to essential healing items. And you will get outright laughed at by other players if you try to make them an offer in caps, which naturally makes sparks the currency that you're aiming to get your hands on. And in that case, you may be wondering, how can I get a job to get more than 150 a day? Well, aside from the 150 a day you get from PvE, you get a random amount given to you by just playing on the server. Or you'll need a house to place things like distilleries and chem sets to make money that way. So I'm going to go into more detail on the houses later on in the video, but for now that's how you do the jobs that the server officially has. So let's get on to the unofficial jobs that you can earn like decent amounts of sparks from. Just like in the famous mod series by Some Guy 2000, shown in the videos here by Mike Burnfire, there's bounty hunting in NVMP, and you can earn a decent amount of sparks from it. A couple of the other unofficial jobs include gun running and selling information about places like Area 51. And yeah, so that's how you earn sparks. But let's get on to another major part of the Ring-a-Ding-Ding server, perks and guns. Or is it guns and perks? Obviously, perks are the biggest parts of builds, and they have a massive factor on who wins what fights in PvP, to the point where people will spend over 1,000 sparks to respec their characters to fix even minor errors, or to better fit into the meta of the server. And from here, we're going to go and pivot and talk about the people and stuff that I personally loved about NVMP. So obviously a big part of what made New Vegas multiplayer so much fun for me and everyone involved was the players. And I mean that as the whole appeal of playing the multiplayer mod, right, is to have other players. Well, let me tell you about some of the people that I met in the Ring-a-Ding-Ding server and when I think of them, and we're going to see what I've done in the GEC because I want to brag about learning this solely for this video. There it is, my subtle bragging. Enjoy. Now up first, we have the oldest school sniper in the Mojave, One-Eyed Jim. Now, he was the man that personally got me to join Talon Company, a pretty funny guy with a great sense of humor. He was the one that played the titular NVMP theme song, The Cheese Tax. This guy is one hell of a shot. Now, he personally killed me from I don't even know where with the All-American while I was firing mini nukes at someone else, so I can only applaud his aim while he was dealing with the screen shake. Now let's talk about another golden oldie. The one and the only Dr. Scott Tex of the Sentinels of the Apocalypse. This ghoul with the tools to patch up all you fools. Doc Tex is the only free doctor in NVMP, and as such he has the respect of a lot of talent in the BOS. I personally raided Area 51 with him and offered to be his bodyguard, which he politely declined because, and I quote, he's too poor to afford that shit, and Talon apparently scares him. Up to the one and the only scariest clown in the waste, resident quartermaster of Talon, Smoothbrain. This is one guy you really don't want to piss off, not only because he has the sparks to spare to make your life on the server a living hell via bounty hunting, but he was not bad at PvP in the slightest. And being the resident quartermaster of Talon, I saw him place bounties of people ranging from 50 to 6,000 sparks, meaning a veritable death sentence to whoever they were put on. And last but certainly not least, we have Horus, the previous head of both the Imperium Man and Wildcard factions. He helped me in the Sierra Madre, claiming bounties on other players, and was a massive help in the mid and early game, and was arguably one of my closest associates on the server, barring the few friends that I personally got into playing the mod. Thank you, Horus. You're one of the only people I trusted myself to do raids with. So, let's get on to the part about the video that people have been probably looking forward to and both dreading. We're going to talk about the cool stuff in NVMP, and there's a lot to go over here. One of the best mechanics that they copied from later entries in the Fallout series, i.e. from Fallout 76, is the concept and implementation of legendary perks. There's one perk for every playstyle, and each one has its own unique concept and, implementation. I personally played with 3 of them, those being Master Handyman, Destroyer of Worlds, and Courier with no name. Just like in Fallout 76, these perks are taken at level 50 and make your build even stronger than they would be in base game, by leaps and miles. I'm very happy about their addition to the game. With these legendary perks came all sorts of other non-legendary perks like Xenotech Expert, Power Armor Expert, and at level 15 the ability to take the Power Armor training perk for a level up. More cool stuff they added was areas of the map like the aforementioned Area 51, a custom spark vendor named Watson whose revolver packed a mean punch and was very helpful when I did dead money, and factions. Like I said before, NVMP has factions, and a lot of them, made by players, ran by players, trading with other players, fighting with them, and so on. It's made the game so much more fun to play and made certain encounters and events even more stressful and more memorable because of that. I myself personally had a few run-ins with members of the Brotherhood of Steel, including their Elder Quincy, and members of the Desert Rangers from the NCR faction alongside the Lone Rangers, being a bit of a pain. Now, one of the biggest parts of owning a faction and running it are land claims that exist all over the map. Basically every place that has a map marker has a land claim, including Prim, Novak, Freeside, and even remote places like the Crass Vertibird and the Legion Safe House. Now, the biggest draw of factions to me is the potential for roleplay and wars, many of which happened when I was on the server. I even took part in a faction fight between the NCR and Talonco. While factions and players are amazing and the perks they added are a nice major addition to the game, I feel that something that most people personally overlook is the addition of both cut weapons and weapons from other Fallout games. Albeit, some don't have matching models, which is understandable. From cool weapons like the railway rifle to weapons I frequently forget exist, like the gamma gun. Hell, they've even taken the extra mile and added new unique weapons like Bright's Super Sledge carried by, Jason Bright. When I say this thing is unique, I mean it. It's bright green like the glass hammer from Oblivion, and it irradiates the person you hit and yourself when you connect, making it a double-edged sword for almost every encounter. And, unlike what most people will tell you, don't use it against ghouls. It's a really bad idea. Alright, so sadly we're at the part where we're done talking about the stuff that I loved about NVMP, and we're going to talk about the things that I personally feel weren't very good about NVMP. And the staff has a direct influence over a lot of the stuff that's here, but you can't really fault them for stuff they don't have direct control over. You have to remember, this is a jank-ass mod for a jank-ass game. Adding multiplayer by itself is already super impressive, and I can't fault them for it being laggy or desyncing all that often. It's really not their fault. They have nothing to do with that. But I am going to complain about the stuff that they do have an influence over and they can change. For starters, the housing market in-game is abysmal. There are people who weren't on the entire time I was playing, and even longer than that. And the only reason I know that's true is because there are people who are active longer than me who hadn't seen them on at all. And they had 2 to 3 houses. Mind you, this wouldn't be an issue if houses weren't the only way to make consistent and good sparks. That doesn't include trading with other players or bounty hunting. Now, granted, you can rob other players, but that's liable to get you shot and bounties placed on you, so do it at your own risk. What other issues are there? Well, you can't get to use 2 of the jobs due to the housing market being so bad that no new people can afford to buy one. The people that already have as many houses as you can possibly get don't want to sell any of them. Another thing is, there aren't any rules for PvP aside from don't do it in Good Springs and Prim, meaning that even if you have 6 people and one person is, getting robbed, they don't have to surrender to you because there aren't any roleplay rules regarding that. But it's murky water at best, given the amount of effort that's gone into adding ways to roleplay, and the fact that the server's technically stated as a PvP one, but most people seem to treat it as a roleplay server. So that's more of a community thing, I feel, but staff should have some control over that. Staff aren't very active on the server itself. Now, granted, I have no idea what time zones the staff are in. When there are 10 to 20 people on frequently, I've seen maybe 4 times that the staff are on during my time playing. And we're going to talk about the Discord Authenticator. It's something I'm fully indifferent to, and I fully understand the need for it. To be able to remove members that are problematic both in-game and in the Discord community, I fully support the Authenticator being a thing. However, the newest edition requiring the Epic Games account Authenticator on top of the Discord one is absolutely ridiculous, and the reason given, I believe, is complete horseshit. Having to forcibly make people link their Epic Games and their Discord is something that I don't think the mod should try to do, because it's cited as being, well, it makes playing peer-to-peer easier, which is basically if you want to play with your friend on a private server, it makes it easier to do that. The methods to do it are already there, so you should make it optional for people that don't want to install Epic Games to their computer, or better yet, don't want to link their Discord account. I already have Epic Games, I however refuse to link it to my Discord because that's a level of privacy that I don't want Epic to have at all. Alongside issues with staff being inactive, in my personal opinion, which mind you, I don't expect everyone to have the same amount of free time as me, because I only have college 4 days out of the week, and it's be something that would be ridiculous to expect. But the staff as a whole didn't even seem to mildly entertain the idea myself and other members had about making the server more active and having more jobs, such as restarting the NVPD, a faction that was made by players and staff to have a police job. The idea of restarting the faction wouldn't be such a big deal if the jobs tied to it weren't some of the only ones that are already in the game that paid sparks and didn't require a house to use, alongside not needing any more coding because they were already in the game. For the context, the aforementioned rebellion rule only pays and only plays properly when you kill members of the NVPD faction, alongside NVPD itself being a job that paid in sparks. Now, I personally made a ticket regarding this, and the reasons given as to why the staff didn't want to reinstate the NVPD were as follows, alongside my responses. Why don't we reinstate the NVPD? I mean, the faction's there, the jobs are there, and rebellion still exists. There are people that want the jobs back, including myself and a couple other members of the community, and I think that running it would be a good idea.
The NVPD reformed into a new faction, and the jobs aren't accepting applications at the moment.
Why not reopen the jobs and reset the faction? Let somebody else that's active and interested take it over to make way for people that want to earn sparks and to roleplay.
None of the staff are online, and even when they are, we don't want to watch people just to make sure that they don't abuse the /gag and /cuff commands on players.
Well, we can establish a body cam rule for the job where you have to be recording while you're doing the job, and in the event that someone reports abuse, the player has to submit the recording as proof they didn't. If they don't record, they lose the job and could be temp banned or perma banned depending on the severity of the report. And they close the ticket. In regards to the jobs and houses, I personally think that much more effort being put into the pre-existing assets in the game would make the experience of multiplayer much more enjoyable for everyone involved. And for the conclusion of this video, I'm going to explain why I personally have no intent of rejoining the NVMP community or playing the mod at its current state. Firstly, the Epic Games authentication is personally way too much for me to do to be playing a mod for New Vegas, and New Vegas, as everybody knows, already has its own issues. Secondly, within the community, I joined a fairly large faction, and the staff banned and removed the faction leadership due to things that were being shared in a private server, not related to NVMP at all. I'm not entirely sure what happened or what was shared. Lastly, when a game has things that people can do in terms of jobs and roleplay that aren't being used, simply because the staff for a server or game cannot trust or be bothered to put effort into them, signals a decline in quality that I personally have no interest in being there for. But above on this video as a whole, the NVMP mod and the subsequent RAD server has a lot of upsides to playing on it. It revitalized my love for the New Vegas game and my love for Fallout, even helped drive me to make this video on it. From the community being amazing to interact with, and the drive of the players to make the game feel better and more inspiring, it helped me to improve my own content and quality for this video and the others to come after it. However, the people who run it don't seem interested in its continued fun and or playability for the rest of the community. As brief as my stay was, I still have to say, the people who have been playing NVMP the longest are a tight-knit group, and all seem to have some issue or another with the staff. As expected in any online community, there is drama.
that many others, myself included, will never know the full story of. With my kindest regards, Danton J. McGill, also known as The Frog.